Hello, this is part 2 of making the infamous snake game. Last week we did some drawing and setting up and getting objects on the canvas. This week we're going to look at handling keyboard events and moving the snake about. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete some stuff. This is quite common in coding. You'll put some stuff in, test it, and then delete it again and make way for better stuff. So I'm going to get rid of the snake. I'm also going to get rid of the snake drawing, the text, and that bar there. So all we've got in the project is a canvas, the onload function, and a draw loop. So what we're going to do in this lesson is now start making something that moves. So we're going to create the snake object. So let snake equal. So this is a JavaScript object, and this is a great way of assigning properties to an object. So it will allow us to have all these things contained within the snake. So we're going to have a direction X, and that's going to be 0. We're going to have a direction Y, which is going to be -1, and we're going to have an X coordinate, let's make it 300, and a Y coordinate, which will also be 300. So you'll notice I didn't put a comma on the last property. So all these are properties of the snake. So this is a great way of sort of condensing this information into one object. So direction X, so that's the horizontal direction. 0 means it's not moving left or right. -1 means it's moving to the left. +1 means it's moving to the right. The Y direction is up and down. 0 is at the top, so as we go negative it will move towards 0, and as we go positive it will move towards 600, which is the bottom. So 300 is in the middle. Let's now add an event listener. So this will listen for any key presses that occur in the browser. So document.add event listener. So the event listener has two things. Firstly, what do we want to listen for? So we want to listen for key down events. So that's the type of event, a key down event. And when that event triggers, so when the browser receives a key press, it will trigger this will be triggered, and it will then send that information to a function which we need to create. So we're going to call it key handler. So this is going to handle the keyboard events. So when a key is pressed, this key handler will decide what to do. So we need to make a function for this. So we could do it here, but we'll probably do it at the bottom. Key handler is a function, and it will take in E, and E is the event being passed to this function. So this will contain the key that's been pressed. So key handler is going to receive this event. Now we need to decide what to do with it. So depending what key is pressed, the snake will change direction. So we're going to use a switch block. Rather than use lots of if statements, we're going to use switch, and that will place a switch block. So the switch is e.key. This is what we're going to test. And then the case is what we want it to be. So if we press W, so if the key is W, then we want something to happen. We want the snake dot direction. So you can see that direction X is a property of that snake. We want it to be 0. So in other words, if you press up, we don't want any left and right movement because snake can only move in one direction at a time. So then we want snake dot direction Y, and if you press up it will be -1. Now I know we've already got -1 here, but if you think about it, if you press down that will change to +1. So when you press up again we need to reset it. So I'm going to do the same thing. Let's copy this whole case statement and paste it underneath here. That was a bit of an epic fail in pasting, but let's paste this in. So S for down. The X direction is going to be 0, but the Y direction is going to be +1. I'm going to leave you to add in the A key and the D key. So you can do those yourself. They're very similar to this. Obviously the X direction might change and the Y direction won't change. So that's an exercise for you to do. So I believe that's that page done. Now this in itself won't move the snake because the snake's position on the screen is determined by its X and Y coordinates. Let's actually put that in. So let's do that in the draw loop. Let's actually draw the snake. So we're going to do ctx dot fill. Oops, we don't draw snake. Draw snake. Getting ahead of myself. So ctx dot fill style. We're going to set a color. So we'll think of RGB, so red, green and blue. So we don't want any red, we do want some green, and we don't want any blue. So that's a green color. And then we're going to have ctx dot fill rect. So that's a rectangle. Fill rect. Like before, for the black area, we need to give it an X and a Y position and a width and a height. So let's go with snake dot X for the X position and snake dot Y. So these are the properties up here. So 300 and 300. And then we want to have a width. I don't know, we're going to change this later, but let's just make it 40 by 40. And there we've got our snake. So 300 is the top left of the snake, so that's in the middle of the screen. So if we change snake X or Y, so let's just change this to 200, you can see that it moves. So like I say, this won't move the snake because we're not changing the X and Y position. So to do that, we need an update loop, an update function. Whoa, what happened there? So update is a function, and it will update all the game logic, everything that moves, collisions and everything like that. So to update the snake, update snake, what we need to do is we need to say snake dot X plus equals snake dot direction X. So that will update the snake's left and right position, and then we'll do snake dot Y plus equals snake dot direction Y. That's it. So this works because if the snake is at 300 Y and the direction is -1, what we're going to do is add -1. So the new snake Y will be 299. Now if we run this, it won't work because we need to do a couple of things. We're not even running this function. So we need to run that function. So let's pop it here in the draw loop. Before we do any drawing, we're going to update the game logic. So when it gets to the draw loop, it will see that. It will update all the game logic, and then it will draw the screen. So that still won't work because it's only running this draw loop once. So to make it run in a loop, we can use the request animation frame, and this will try to redraw this screen 60 times a second, this canvas. So it will request it from the browser, and if the browser does have time, it will do an update of the screen 60 times a second. If your program is very intense and the browser's under a lot of load, it might not be able to update it, so it will try. And once it's updated it, it needs to call a function. So it actually calls itself. So when it gets to here, it tries to update the browser and then runs this function. So then it goes down, tries to update the browser and runs this function. So it creates a loop. And as you can see, the snake now moves up because we're going to update and then it's running this update. Let's see if we can actually control it. Yeah, so I can move the snake up and down. So these event listeners are firing. So this event listener is being triggered when I press the key, and then it will then go to the key handler. The key handler will change the snake direction, and when we're drawing, the game will be updated and the snake position will be changed with the snake direction. So in the next video we'll add a bit more to this and keep working on it and try and improve it, maybe add an apple or something else into it. So stay tuned and hope that was useful. Thank you.